Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's son Archie is growing up fast. Meghan Markle celebrates her and Prince Harry's son Archie by sharing a rare photo of him taking in a sunset in a pair of striped pajamas.
In a development that has left both royal watchers and mainstream audiences stunned, a previously unknown woman, publicly identifying herself only by the initials DL, has stepped into the global spotlight with a claim that could shake the very foundations of modern royal history. She alleges that she is not just connected to, but in fact the biological mother of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's two children, Archie and Lilibet. But her claims don't stop at biological links. According to DL, she was the full-term, concealed surrogate for both of Meghan's pregnancies, handpicked through a discreet California-based agency bound by ironclad non-disclosure agreements and subjected to a level of secrecy that rivals espionage. This isn't a faceless accusation whispered through anonymous sources or leaked documents. DL is stepping forward with her face fully visible, speaking with a composed, steady voice that belies the gravity of her revelations. She isn't just sharing her story, she's bringing what she claims is hard evidence. Detailed hospital paperwork, financial records that trace back to Meghan's inner circle, and signed confidentiality agreements that date as far back as late 2018, just months before Meghan publicly announced her first pregnancy.
Another question, the one the conspiracy theories ask, is why are Meghan and Harry quite so obsessive about not revealing their kids' faces? An all-consuming fixation that almost fetishizes privacy and guarantees.
In her own words, DL declared, "I was promised privacy and compensation. Instead, I was erased from the narrative." That chilling statement has sent shockwaves across social media platforms and newsrooms alike. The idea that someone could have played such an intimate, foundational role in the lives of two royal children, only to be allegedly written out of history, has ignited not just curiosity, but outrage, suspicion, and a deep hunger for the truth. What makes her account all the more compelling is the confidence with which she's presenting it. Unlike typical whistleblowers who choose to hide behind blurry camera filters or voice modulation, DL is unapologetically visible, suggesting she's prepared for scrutiny and has nothing to hide. Her tone isn't frantic or performative. It's calculated, calm, and deliberate, as if she's been waiting for the right moment to speak and has now decided the silence has gone on long enough. In the short time since her claims surfaced, interest in her story has surged dramatically. Video clips of past royal events, especially those showing Meghan during pregnancy, are being reanalyzed in this new context. And DL's emergence is not only reviving old theories, but rewriting the conversation altogether. What was once dismissed as online speculation or conspiracy now feels, to many, like the first chapter of a much larger, more disturbing truth.
Nevertheless, the counterfeit kids talk was on the wane, until Meghan's hilariously sycophantic supporter, Christopher Boozy, stuck his oar in, poked the hornet's nest, and set the gossip mill buzzing again.
If her allegations hold weight, the implications are enormous, not just for the credibility of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, but for the royal lineage itself. And as the world watches this mystery unfold, DL's story is fast becoming the most explosive and controversial narrative the Sussexes have faced to date. For years, whispers and conspiracy theories surrounding Meghan Markle's pregnancies have lingered in the darker corners of the internet, circulating claims of shifting baby bumps, unusually staged public appearances, and videos that appeared to show her bump collapsing or changing size. These suspicions were routinely dismissed by mainstream media as baseless internet gossip, attributed to misogyny, racism, or just general royal obsession. But the emergence of DL, a woman alleging she served as the secret full-term surrogate for both royal births, has reopened the floodgates of speculation, forcing both the public and the press to revisit the rumors they once waved away. Old footage, once written off as misleading camera angles or unfortunate fabric folds, is now being examined with fresh eyes. Clips showing Meghan's bump appearing to fold as she sat down or expand and contract dramatically between public appearances are going viral once more. Only this time, in the context of DL's claims, they are no longer being laughed off. Has the world been duped by one of the most tightly controlled narratives in modern royal history?
In a column for Newsweek magazine, tech entrepreneur Boozy wrote, when Meghan Markle posted a light-hearted video of herself dancing in a hospital room while 9 months pregnant, she probably thought she was sharing a relatable moment.
Because if DL's story is true, the implications go far beyond PR manipulation or image control. This isn't just about a celebrity couple managing public perception. It's about potential deception at the highest level of the monarchy, 2 children possibly presented to the world under fabricated circumstances, while the palace, the press, and even members of the royal family remained complicit, or at the very least, willfully blind. The spotlight is now turning toward Prince Harry, once perceived by many as the outsider-turned-victim, swept up in the media storm that surrounded his wife. But that narrative is starting to crack. Increasingly, people are asking, did Harry know? Was he a passive participant in this alleged deception, or an active collaborator? If he knew the pregnancies were staged and went along with it, his role transforms from misunderstood husband to co-conspirator, a deeply troubling shift for a figure once admired for breaking away from royal rigidity in the name of authenticity. And then there's the unusual handling of Archie's birth, which has always stood in contrast to royal tradition. No official announcement from the hospital. No iconic photo op on the steps of the maternity ward, as the public had seen with Princess Diana, Kate Middleton, and every royal mother before them. Instead, there was a short, informal video of Harry standing awkwardly in front of a horse stable, announcing the birth in vague terms.
Every joyful moment gets twisted into ammunition by people who have made destroying her their full-time job. And we need to talk about what this sustained cruelty has done to a woman whose only crime was falling in love with a prince.
At the time, it seemed refreshingly non-traditional. Now, it feels curiously evasive. Even more puzzling was the later release of Archie's birth certificate, which appeared to omit Meghan's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, and instead replaced it with only her royal title, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. Initially explained away as a mere clerical update or a stylistic choice, the edit is now being reevaluated in light of DL's claims. Some speculate that the alteration may have served a deliberate legal purpose, perhaps an attempt to avoid the risk of formal documentation contradicting an undisclosed surrogacy arrangement. If Meghan was not the birth mother, but her name appeared on the certificate as such, that document could be considered falsified under legal standards, a potentially explosive revelation with ramifications for the children's identities and legal status. What was once brushed off as a relevant detail or harmless deviation from royal tradition is now being re-examined as potential evidence in what could become a constitutional crisis. The narrative has changed dramatically, and with DL's claims growing louder and the Sussexes remaining silent, what once seemed like fringe conspiracy is now inching closer to mainstream credibility. What makes this unfolding saga even more striking is the complete absence of a direct, formal denial from either Meghan Markle or Prince Harry. Despite the magnitude of the allegations and the growing media storm, the Sussexes have chosen not to issue a statement, hold a press conference, or release any documentation that might swiftly discredit DL's claims.
Instead, within hours, online trolls and conspiracy theorists weaponized it as proof she was never pregnant at all. This nightmare is what Meghan's life has become.
Instead, sources close to the couple suggest that their response is taking shape behind closed doors, with legal teams working frantically to contain the story. Reports indicate that lawyers have been sending cease and desist letters, pressuring media outlets to drop coverage, and warning journalists against platforming DL in interviews or exposés. Rather than silencing her, however, these alleged legal maneuvers appear to be emboldening DL. She has not retreated under the pressure. In fact, she has leaned in. According to individuals close to her, she is welcoming legal action, fully prepared to defend her claims in court if necessary. She has gone so far as to publicly state her willingness to testify under oath and submit to a DNA test, so long as the process is handled by an independent, third-party lab without ties to either the Sussexes or the British monarchy. This level of transparency and fearlessness has only added credibility in the eyes of many observers, who wonder what kind of woman would face potential lawsuits from royalty unless she was absolutely certain of her truth. DL paints a disturbing picture of her experience, one that contrasts sharply with the compassionate public image that Harry and Meghan have long cultivated. She alleges that during both pregnancies, she was kept in near total isolation, under tight supervision by Meghan's staff. Her housing, medical appointments, and even her psychological care were arranged by members of the Sussex inner circle, but all under strict instructions to avoid outside contact and keep her identity buried. She claims that everything was controlled, from what she ate, to who she spoke with, to where she was allowed to go, all under the guise of preserving the integrity of a top-secret arrangement.
Certainly, that improbably huge, low-slung baby belly looked kind of odd. But why the hell would the gruesome twosome pretend to be parents? That is the question.
But the support, she says, ended the moment she gave birth. Following the delivery of each child, DL claims she was swiftly cut off, medically, emotionally, and financially. After suffering a serious bout of postpartum preeclampsia, a potentially life-threatening condition involving high blood pressure and organ damage, she says she received minimal medical follow-up and no meaningful emotional support. In her words, she was treated like a vessel, not a person. It was that moment of abandonment, when the promises made to her no longer matched the treatment she received, that pushed her to begin documenting everything. And document she did. Over the course of several years, DL says she quietly assembled what she describes as a comprehensive paper trail: text messages, email chains, digital contracts, prenatal appointment records, transportation receipts, housing documentation, and payment logs. According to her, this archive of evidence not only proves the existence of the surrogacy arrangement, but also clearly implicates Meghan's team in orchestrating and then allegedly attempting to bury the entire operation. If true, this cache of documents could be nothing short of explosive, especially when viewed alongside the couple's continued refusal to address the situation publicly.
Meghan writes in the May 6th Instagram post, our son. Happy 6th birthday to Archie. Thank you for all of the love, prayers, and warm wishes for our sweet boy.
The longer the silence stretches, the more it fuels public suspicion, and in the absence of a strong counter-narrative, DL's version of events is rapidly gaining traction. What began as whispers on internet forums has now spilled into the mainstream. This is no longer a fringe rumor confined to tabloid speculation or YouTube conspiracy channels. Major, reputable news organizations, many of which previously steered clear of anything that might seem salacious or speculative, are now cautiously but deliberately circling the story. Behind closed doors, editors and legal teams are reportedly weighing the potential fallout. Some networks, according to industry insiders, have already pre-recorded interviews with DL, quietly holding the footage while awaiting legal clearance or confirmation that publishing it won't result in defamation lawsuits or violations of gag orders. This behind-the-scenes activity has not gone unnoticed by the public. On social media, hashtags connected to the controversy are trending across multiple platforms, and YouTube channels once considered niche are now racking up millions of views as their archival moon bump content is recontextualized. Online sleuths have gone into overdrive, revisiting footage of Meghan's public appearances during her pregnancies and combing through frame-by-frame breakdowns that were once dismissed as overanalysis. Subtle inconsistencies, like sudden changes in the size or positioning of her baby bump, awkward physical movements, or oddly timed wardrobe choices, are now being seen not as quirks, but as potential clues in a much larger cover-up. As the online noise grows louder, sources close to the Sussexes describe escalating internal pressure. Prince Harry, once admired for his emotional openness and protective nature, is allegedly showing signs of deep distress.
Well, we might need to talk about it if the woman in question wasn't such a dedicated self-publicist. A fame addict who has clearly adopted the principle that no publicity is bad publicity, and it doesn't matter what people are saying about you as long as you're making headlines and they spell your name right.
According to palace insiders and staff who once worked closely with the couple, Harry has become increasingly reclusive, reportedly avoiding social interactions, snapping at aides, and obsessing over media headlines. Some claim he's been retreating into isolation, struggling to reconcile the rising storm with the image he's spent years trying to rebuild outside of the royal system. Meanwhile, Meghan has gone eerily silent. For someone known for meticulously crafting her public image through podcast appearances, social media strategy, and brand-building interviews, her current disappearance from public life is jarring. No Instagram updates, no media appearances, no new episodes of her podcast, and no sightings at the kinds of high-profile events she once attended regularly. The woman who once dominated headlines for her candidness and charisma is now conspicuously absent. Insiders say this silence isn't accidental. It's strategic. With legal threats looming and public scrutiny intensifying, Meghan has reportedly shifted her focus inward, doubling down on protecting her commercial empire. Her lifestyle brand, which spans everything from skincare to wine and wellness products, is allegedly undergoing internal damage control. Several brand partners and corporate sponsors are said to be reassessing their associations, wary of being tied to a potentially explosive scandal. In industries built on public perception, even the possibility of deception can be enough to cause brands to walk away. According to multiple sources, high-level meetings are taking place behind the scenes, not only with attorneys, but with crisis management experts and public relations advisors. Yet, despite the high-powered team at her disposal, no official statement has been made, a silence that, to many, now speaks volumes.
That she's not a mum and never has been. Just when the difficult Duchess wanted all the talk of her fake baby bumps to fade away, along came a so-called friend to turbocharge the conspiracy theories. Now the trolls have gone into overdrive.
With every passing day, the decision to avoid the public eye is backfiring, as speculation continues to fill the vacuum left by their silence. The once carefully curated narrative of the Sussexes as modern, honest, relatable royals who escaped the monarchy in search of truth now stands on increasingly shaky ground. And the global media, which once tiptoed around them out of deference or political correctness, is beginning to shift. The tone is no longer reverent, it's investigative. If DL's story proves to have substance, and if mainstream outlets begin airing her interviews, the landscape could change overnight. What was once a fringe whisper is rapidly becoming a crisis of credibility, unfolding on the world stage with stakes far greater than just a PR backlash. It's now a battle for legacy, truth, and trust. What makes the situation more explosive is the constitutional backdrop. Legal experts in the UK are said to be examining whether a lack of transparency around surrogacy could jeopardize Archie and Lilibet's royal titles or even their positions in the line of succession. While surrogacy itself isn't scandalous, hiding it, particularly in the royal context, could be perceived as deception at an institutional level. A former palace press secretary even remarked that if the allegations are true, the fallout could raise historic questions around public trust and monarchical integrity. As the silence from Harry and Meghan continues, so does the speculation. Public support is shifting, with former allies going quiet and fans demanding transparency. Podcasts once praising Meghan's activism are being scrubbed, and social media conversations are flooded with calls for clarity. For a couple whose brand was built on honesty, vulnerability, and breaking royal convention, this moment represents a critical fracture. The issue is no longer just personal, it's existential. If the public begins to believe that Meghan and Harry fabricated such a fundamental part of their story, can their credibility survive it? What started as fringe whispers has now grown into one of the most dramatic and potentially damaging royal controversies of the modern era, and all the while, the Sussexes have remained completely silent.